I have no, you never seen it, or I have no, that's something.
Okay.
I'm going to that. Okay.
I'm
Okay.
Hi. We just get started. There's a lot of good people here. So we're trying something new because what we realized was the speaker doesn't come with a power cord. So we're like, uh-oh. So we thought that since this is a smaller venue, it might be okay for us to use regular talking voices. However, myself and Sarge over there, we have these little lav mics. So then that way the people online can hear us just a little bit better. And then when you guys are asking questions, I'll probably take off my lav mic to hand it to you so you can ask the questions into the lav mic so then the people online can hear. Hope that's okay with everyone. But we're just kind of double checking because Jack's double checking. Pascal is at home watching this. So that way we get the live version of you guys are too soft, you guys are too loud, can't see you on the screen. Pascal is usually the one that tapes down all of the spots on the floor. We didn't have painter's tape, so we're using random walking devices, devices to try and keep us in frame. And then what I'm doing is I'm just eating up time and just kind of talking and talking and talking just to see if and Jack says, okay, we're good. Awesome. So thanks again, everyone. This is the quick agenda for today. What we have is we have very special guests here. As you can see, they have literally lined the back of the room. This is Hamilton Police Services. So I want to be able to give them the majority of the time to chat, give you an update on the ward, and at the same time, leave lots of time for question and answer. We also have the Crime Stopper team because thank you, Bill, for swag, because I didn't think to get pads of paper and pens and that sort of thing. So the Crime Stoppers will also do a quick little presentation. And let's go forward and we'll do the land acknowledgement. So I want to skip to the land acknowledgement. Jack is also running a separate PowerPoint through the restream. So unfortunately the two laptops don't connect. So we're doing things in a lot of different ways here. So the city of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. And today, City of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island. And we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers. I hope that we do take a little bit of time just to reflect on what our roles here. And let's move on to the team. So I'm Tammy, I'm the ward counselor. Jack is here as the literal boss of everything. Pascal is in the middle. She's online, so she can help facilitate with any moderating and questions. But we also have Soraya right here. Soraya is also helping out as just part of the team, as just to fill in the gaps and that sort of thing. Moving on, we're gonna go straight into it. And Superintendent, are you going to do the intro?
Say a couple words, or you can do the intro and then I'll say a couple words. Sure.
Well, I want to say that Superintendent Mark Stiller is here. He's from Division 2, so I'm thankful to have really essentially senior leadership team from Hamilton Police Services here to speak with you today. I don't think your presentation has all of the people in the room. So actually, Superintendent, can you come up and then perhaps introduce your people before we get Sarge to come up? So I'm going to clip this on you. So that way.
Okay, sure.
Yourself. There you go.
Go to the next
And then
slide.
you're going to have to stand there. Just stand right there. Yeah.
Well, welcome. Ward 4 Townhall, and thank you for having us. Our first time having a joint town hall with Councilor Wang and Ward 4, so thanks for having us. My team at the back, sorry, first of all, I am Superintendent Mark Stiller, so I am the Superintendent of Division 2. Everyone knows what Division 2 is, being in Highway 20 is upstation. Division 2 is area bounded by Sherman Avenue, and then all the way to and then Winona to the east, and then the Bay, and then to the escarpment, and then also on top of the escarpment as well, we do some Upper Stony Creek area as well. So it's a very large geographical area. We'll speak more about that later. We have a bit of a slide show presentation. So my team at the back, we have Sergeant Ian Cotty and Constable Sherry Marshall there as well. There is our from our crime manager's office. We'll speak to more about what that kind of means. There are, I call them our glue. They're the team that interacts most of the time with our community members. Any kind of calls we get in Division 2 with the counselors, with specialized areas of police service, be it certain detectives branches, traffic services, and then the commanders as well from my side of things, and to our patrol division as well. So they're kind of the middle team there that takes all the calls and emails on the issues. So that's really your first point of contact, I would say, in terms of any kind of issues in your area. So that is one of our goals here tonight, is just to kind of bring some awareness on how we do business as a police service. There may be some misconceptions, different things you kind of hear and you feel how things should be. And then we're here to provide some awareness on kind of how we operate. So that may assist in some better understanding as well. And then from your side of things, in terms of communication is the key. So either through the counselor's office and then or directly to us as well. Certain things, especially on the crime side, I feel are better kind of served directly by us as well. I mean, by all means, you can make the counselor aware if it's, again, depending on what it is, but I give the analogy, if you have a broken window, don't call a plumber. You can call the person that's going to fix your job. So by all means, that's a bad analogy of mine, but
Nicely done.
I know from different areas of police service and different other wards, for some reason, everyone loves to call the counselor about crime issues or neighbor troubles or whatever else, and that doesn't seem to get passed on to the police, which is a huge disconnect there, where all of a sudden we come to these meetings and we hear, oh, we've been having a problem for 2 years on this street. No one knows about it. No one's called the police. I'm not quite sure why. There are some challenges with us in terms of our websites getting updated. The non-emergency number we'll speak about soon there as well. That's the generic number for the entire police service, which is massive. Over 1,200 people work there. So we are here to direct you exactly kind of where you need to go, where you need to call to get that kind of quality service that we're looking to provide. So as well, thanks to the Crime Stoppers team, Constable Bill Kapitanchuk and his team are here as well. Give a brief presentation, and we have our EDI team here as well for any kind of questions that may come up and to observe and be part of this presentation as well. So other than that, I'm going to call up Sergeant Cotty, and he can come here and start our presentation, and then we'll have a bit of a Q&A section after that. By all means, you can ask us anything you want. Yeah.
No, it's on there. It's in the town hall.
No, I don't have my signature.
No, it's on there.
It's on it?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay. Oh, yeah, it is. Whoopsies. Okay. And you just have to hit the down button, Sergeant.
Yeah.
The down button.
Forward.
Yep.
Yeah, and also standing.
Yeah, just stand around there. Yeah. Usually there's a piece of. A little more. A little more. Not like
Townhall, our contribution, we are intended to give you information, provide you awareness as to our community resources. What we, right? Right now, as it stands, the intention of the town hall for our contribution, we're not going to be here to hear. It's a forum that's designed. We don't want to hear specific concerns that you might be having with your neighbor. We're going to provide information at the end and contact information. If there is some specific concerns that you have that we can address another time. But right now, we are kind of time limited, so we want to get through all the reports. That's all, okay? But again, there will be time for question and answer at the end, but it'll be more of like generic questions that you might have for us versus my neighbors shoveling snow on my driveway. And together, but we'll see how this goes. Again, that's just what I mentioned here. The superintendent pretty much outlined what our role is in the crime manager's office. Basically, we liaise with the community, we talk to the counselors, we talk to all of us. Often, if there's concerns about, let's say, people are speeding down your street, or you've got some traffic concerns in your neighborhood, you give us a call, you let us know. We have the ability to, we will reach out to the officers that patrol your area, and we will let them know, because officers have time to do enforcement when they do. They'll come to our office looking for places to enforce. So then we will relay that information to them. We also have the ability to reach out to our traffic unit. Say, you know what, there's a lot of concerns with this area. Can you guys show more visibility? We also work with our divisional analysts to help develop crime trends, so we can keep an eye on what's going on within the neighborhoods and things that we need to pay more attention to. That's Ward 4. This is the boundary of Hamilton, and there's Ward 4. This is something that we put in this presentation because it's pretty important for everybody to understand. So a priority response system. This dictates how patrol officers respond to their calls, and it's based on severity and urgency. So it's important to know that the Hamilton Police Service didn't create the priority response system. Not one individual created the priority response system. It was actually created by the International Academies of Emergency Dispatch. I looked that up. All right, so let's kind of go through our emergency response system. So start off with priority zeros. That's an emergency. That's an immediate dispatch going out to the officers on the road because something is happening where there's an injury that's occurring or is imminent to occur. So that's the lights and sirens, officers are heading out there right away. Then we move down to our priority ones, which are emergencies where injuries aren't imminent. As you can see, it's 3-minute dispatch. So what that means is that our dispatchers have priority zeros. They're getting that call, radioing it out to the officers. The officers are heading to those calls. So an officer either is free and they go on that call, or an officer on a call and they'll put that one aside, something that's more important. So again, example is like a shooting or a stabbing. We need to get there yesterday. It doesn't matter what's going on. So again, that's why it's a priority zero. That's why it's an immediate dispatch. And then we slowly work down. So like I said, robbery where, what did I mention? Injury isn't imminent, but the individual is still on scene or close to being around. We still need to get there. So that's why, again, it moves down in terms of the priority of priority 3. And we keep moving down and down. To give you a sense, when officers log on in the morning, the computer screen within the car, so it breaks down. So it'll break down to all the calls that are currently being serviced. So we can actually take a look at every call that every officer is working on. But on top of that, below that, it's called a pending screen. So there's a list below there showing all the calls that are ready to be dispatched, right? So all of these calls that are on the screen are compounded. So there's more than one priority 3 on the board. There's often quite a few priority 3s, priority 4s. There's quite often a couple of priority 2s. So things are constantly changing throughout the officer shift. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah? Okay. Anybody had to report to police before?
Yes.
Yeah? How do we report?
Go into the main building.
Yep.
Do it online.
Got it. Perfect. So when we're reporting to police, there's two ways, two times when you're going to call police. If it's an emergency, you need police there right away. Again, serious injury, something's going on, it's a criminal offense. It's a 911 call, right? You pick up the phone and you call 911. For calls that don't require an immediate response right away, lights and sirens, what have you, there's other avenues you can take. So one's going to be our non-emergent number, which is the 5464925. We now have reporting online. That's another avenue you can take. And the other one is like simply walk into the station. A lot of people don't understand that when you're calling 911 because say there's a cat in a tree, you're tying up that 911 operator that they can't be answering the true 911 calls that are coming in. So we try to relay that to people that if it's an emergency, call 911 if you need us there right away. Don't hesitate. But if it's something like your neighbor's shoveling snow in your driveway, that's not an immediate response. Let's go through other avenues. Okay. This is just if you're going to call 911. I'm not going to really go through the whole thing, but if you're calling 911, obviously you're in a very stressful situation, right? And you're probably really worked up because there's a reason why you need us there. My advice to everybody is simply take a deep breath before you call. because you're not helping the dispatcher when you're screaming on the phone because you're worked up because of the event. When we tell people take a deep breath and then just simply answer the question because you're going to be asked, fire, police, or ambulance. As soon as you can get all the proper words out there, the dispatchers can get the information out to the officers on the road so they can get out there immediately. Great. So we talked about reporting online. These are the calls that you can report online. Okay, breaking and enters, damage to property, damage to vehicles, fraud, hate crime, property, lost property, sex assaults, thefts from the vehicles, hate, bias, motor vehicle crimes.
Sexual assault on twice.
I see that. However, one's capitalized one is. Okay. Yes.
That's true.
Oh, I think I missed this slide. Okay, I missed this slide, but I can tell you, there are things you cannot report online. Stolen license plates, stolen passports. Those are two things that you need to go to the station to report. You also need to, if you're going to report online, you need to have a valid email address, and it goes without saying, but you need to be in Hamilton. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. We pass it over to Gary here. And talk about.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Oh, press the down button.
Okay, so I know the superintendent already introduced me, but my name is Sherry Marshall and I'm currently working in the crime manager's office along with Sergeant Cotty. And today I'm going to be talking about the body worn cameras. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Inside.
okay. Body worn cameras are something that's been newly rolled out to the Hamilton Police. They currently work alongside with our that's the wrong slide, but we have they work along with Axon, which is already in our in-car cameras, as well as with our automated license plate reader. So in each cruiser, we have automated license plate readers. So if we're driving along and it detects a stolen auto or anything like that, then it automatically pings and it will let us know that there's something up with that car. So it is already with our existing technology. If for some reason there is an interaction with the police where the body worn cameras were on and you would like the body worn camera, it would be the same as if you were to go get a report with the police. You would go down to the Freedom of Information at Central Station and they would be able to provide you with something to fill out to get body worn camera access. With the body worn cameras, also came a policy. The policy is in guidelines with what we already have in place for our in-car cameras and our automated license plate readers, which is the ICC and the ALPR policies. They are also in line with the Privacy Commission. So when will they be turned on? So cameras will be on. My camera, this is the body worn camera here. Mine is not on right now. It is blinking green, but if it was to be on, it would be red. So you'd be able to see there'd be like 4 red, bright blinking lights. So you would know if I was recording me right now. Also, when I look down, it would have a red light and it would say that I was recording. Okay, so as far as when we should and should not be recording. So members must have the cameras on for all enforcement and investigative interactions. So that would include things like traffic stops, suspect apprehensions, any arrests, any roadside searches, roadside releases, prisoner transport, field statements, anything like that. So if I was to take a statement from somebody, I could have my camera on as well and just talk to them. That's how we would get statements. They are, the body worn cameras report. We will have reports that will go to the Police Services Board annually. They will report on things such as it will be an audit and analysis of the system and the program. So with many things, the body worn cameras also, if officers are not complying with any of the policies or anything like that, then through an internal investigation, they could face some discipline. So they are supposed to be on with any investigation. Oh.
So that's
Oh. That's your missing slide. Oh, it's your other missing slide?
Yeah.
some of them.
Whoops.
That wasn't us, right?
Okay, so this is just an example.
Exactly like that.
When there's something that is considered exigent circumstances, so that's matters when, if we're called to a 911 call, and we're not quite certain what's happening, our cameras will be on. So if it's an unknown situation, basically we're there to ensure safety of myself, safety of public, safety of anybody involved in the call. If for some reason, once we get there, it's not a police matter, a criminal investigation, anything like that, there's no safety issues, we can then turn them off. It's also for our safety, for your safety, but also for preservation of evidence. When we are going out to 911 call, if I flip on my lights, it will automatically come on. If I was to deploy my taser, if I forgot to turn it on and I was to deploy my taser, it would automatically come on. They do back up 1 minute, so it wouldn't have sound, but it would still be able to see what happened during that minute before I turned it on. So it has the ability to back up a little bit. So if I got somewhere and I thought, oh, I forgot to turn it on, and I hit it on, it will back up 1 minute and show what happened during that minute prior. And so there's also calls for service. Once we ensure everyone is safe, as I said, if a person in a house asks for the cameras to be turned off, and we're not there for any criminal investigation, there's no safety issues or that, we can turn it off in somebody's private residence. If we are attending a resident, say for information sharing, such as, for example, if we are there for a death notification to let somebody know that somebody has died, we would not have the camera on. So that's something that is not a criminal investigation. So they would not be recording during that time. Also, they do have the ability that if we are recording, and let's say my camera did come on right now and I was recording, but I was speaking just to the person at the back, they could block out everybody's faces so that nobody else is caught on the camera that shouldn't be or isn't involved. So these are just some examples of some calls that when they would be on and off. And these can change too. If it's, not safe when we first get there, but then it becomes safe, we can turn it off, or vice versa. The next is going to be some frequently asked questions. So why have we introduced body worn cameras? So I kind of touched on it already, but it's also for unbiased view of the police and public interactions. So the camera is going to capture everything. So if I said something didn't happen and it was on camera, it happened, right? It's going to be captured. It's also to help increase transparency with the police and the public. It is for enhancing public and officer safety while capturing critical evidence and to help with the court process. So who will wear body worn cameras in Hamilton? So right now, they've been rolled out to almost all the front line. They've been, we still have some training going on, but most frontline officers will have them now. And then they're also going to be for identified specialty uniform units. So people that will be wearing police uniforms. So if they were undercover, they wouldn't have a big camera in front of them because that would not allow them to be undercover. So. When will the cameras be operating? Again, I already touched on that, but they're powered on at the start of the shift. So mine would be considered powered on right now. It has the green light, it's blinking, so it is on. It's not recording though. So if I was to be going to a call, it would then be recording, but right now it's powered on. If I had it powered off, sometimes it takes up to a minute to warm up. So you would keep it powered on as soon as you put it on your vest. So if there's anything. It will
Who
quickly come
decides
on.
whether it records or not? If it's on,
So-
it's fine, but.
It again, I can tap it and it will start
Oh,
recording.
okay. Yeah.
Or it is connected to, so if all three of us had our body worn
Yeah.
cameras and we were all in different cruisers and I went lights and sirens somewhere and they pulled up beside me, their cameras would automatically go on as well because my lights and sirens are activated. As well as if my taser went off, everybody's camera would go on. It wouldn't just be mine.
I wouldn't just remote.
Just from a privacy side of things, there's certain things that, and we ask people, is it
Yeah,
okay if I record you? They can say no, but if it's investigative, you turn it on. Nothing for you to say. You can't not.
No,
If
obviously.
it's investigative. If we go to a hospital just to speak to someone, it would not be on. If we're investigating something, if we're just talking on the street, it would not go on. If all of a sudden I am involved in such an investigation and I have to speak with you, it's gonna go. Sorry, I'm off your screen.
You just-
Sorry,
Just moving forward, anybody has something?
sorry. Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, actually, just so, yeah, so that,
I was just.
that's the big thing. It basically comes down to the officers, from their training.
Discretion, basically.
Yeah, well, not so much discretion. If it's an investigation, it has to be on. If there's some sort of counter, as the officer said, draw your taser, and now firearms will be soon as well, automatically. So if you're within Bluetooth distance 30 feet of a cruiser with the lights going, your camera will automatically turn on. So that you'll have, say there's some sort of see the news all the time, cruisers going, some sort of large major kind of call. There's 6 officers standing there, all their cameras will be on because the cruiser is near nears. So you'll have multiple angles and multiple audio and everything. So it's audio, video recorded. And then depending on, and that all kind of goes into evidence. There is a small army of people now we had to hire in the background that has to view everything, has to redact or basically edit all that footage now has to be edited. Whatever is private or may not be involved, if they have recorded someone, across the street and was not involved, they would have blacked all that out. They package all that up and send it on the court. So it's easy for us to turn it on, turn it off, but then there is, so many support people as well have to manage all that stuff. So it's a lot,
Privacy issues.
privacy issues, and then just record. They can't give you the unedited kind of version of that. So not editing, but just, an hour of a call. They're going to give you what the evidence is and kind of pare that down to something that more lawyers exactly. And same thing as the officer mentioned as well. Most patrol cars now have automatic license plate reader. So that basically reads your license plates automatically, runs it through the system, and have in-car camera as well. So that would, so if it's a traffic stop and I stop for rolling for a stop sign, it's all recorded as well.
Yeah.
So someone then packages all that up as well and sends it to traffic court. So when you got to fight it, I'm like, there you go.
Just so happens.
It just happens like, recording here, is there like you going through the stop sign? Oh, I didn't realize that. Sorry, but your luck. But no, that's I make light of it. There is a huge, I've been a police officer for 31 years. Started with a revolver, a stick, and a set of handcuffs. Now is, there's more and more gear and technology and so many things now. And along with that is the support kind of side of things as well. We need people, civilian employees as well to,
Break stuff down.
yeah, for sure. So
Thank you,
Sure.
Superintendent.
Thank
Back
you.
to you, Sherry.
Yeah, so just to touch on that, for example, if it's to we would come up, I would ask your name, phone number, date of birth, where you're living, all that stuff would be taken off because we wouldn't want anyone else to know that. If it goes to court, we would just want, the evidence, but not your personal information. So all that would be removed. Again, I already touched on this, how will I know if the camera is recording? So it will be clearly visible with the lights indicated that I'm recording. And also, as soon as possible, the officer will let you know that you are currently being recorded. So obviously, if they have to do something quickly, they're not gonna be able to stop and let you know, but as soon as things calm down, they will let you know that you are currently being recorded. So you'll be aware. This again, I touched on a little bit, but can I ask not to be recorded? So the only time is when an officer has entered a private residence or a private place without legal authority of a warrant. So if it was a warrant and we were going in with a warrant, it would be recorded the whole time. But if we were going into a residence without a warrant and the owner occupant does not provide consent to record, and again, the exigent circumstances don't exist. So that means there's no danger, there's no criminal investigation, there's nothing going on that way, then the cameras can be turned off if they wish them to be turned off. Also, as the superintendent touched on, they will not be recording in a medical facility, again, except in exigent circumstances. If we were to take somebody down for a mental health apprehension or something, and we felt that they may be dangerous to themselves or others or anything like that, we would keep it going. But again, anybody in the outside of the hospital their faces would be blanked out. The next question is, where will the footage be stored and for how long? So the data will be stored on a secure Canadian storage server. And then the retention schedule is set by our organization and also in accordance with legislation. So for example, I know Sergeant Cotty up there had sexual assaults. Sexual assaults, any evidence is 99 plus years. So that is within our policy. So anything that we keep with regards to a sexual assault, we would keep for 99 years, which would be the same as this. However, if it was something that maybe a mischief and they went to court and they were found guilty and then the appeal process is over, then we may get rid of the footage. But again, it's all in accordance with the legislation. So who will have access to the footage? So as far as accessing the footage, I can't go on and access other officers' footage unless I was at the call. Or I was a supervisor at the time and I needed to access their footage. So it's not that we can record stuff and everybody gets to watch it. The recording officer is allowed to watch it. Any involved officers that were at that call, their supervisors, and any investigative unit. So if I was to go to, any investigative unit that it will then be going to. So if I was to go to, say, a commercial break and enter, and when I got there, my camera was on and everybody had fled, but they had stolen a lot of stuff or done some damage, that may go on to our break and enter unit. So they would be able to have access to my camera footage to see what I saw when I got there. But it couldn't just be, I mean, even the superintendent, if he was to access it, he would have to have reason to access it. Do the cameras use facial recognition? No, no, they don't have the ability to do that. And further, we would not be using them for any surveillance. So it's not like we would be sitting and just having them on to kind of watch people. They aren't used for stuff like that. They're again used when we are dispatched to a criminal investigation and the other things that I already spoke about. I'm just going to go over quickly. We have some crime prevention tips as well. And this is just in general for everybody. Some crime prevention tips. Some of them are obvious, some of them may not know. Things like keeping your vehicles locked. Don't leave any of your personal items out and in the open or in the vehicle at all. Things like anti-theft devices. You know, they're old school, but even the club that you put on a steering wheel, those are really good deterrents, because if somebody sees two cars in a parking lot, one has a club, they're going for the other. It doesn't matter what the car is. And those things are very hard to get through. If possible, park in a secured garage. I know myself too, if I'm out shopping late or anything like that, I make sure I park right under a street light. So it's very open. People can see me, people can see my car. Invest in aftermarket GPS trackers. Again, I had a friend that put one of the air tags in her dog's blanket that was thrown in the back. Her car happened to get stolen and she was able to figure out exactly where it was. So if you didn't have an air tag, you can throw that in there. As far as your homes go, locking all your doors at all times, even when you're in the house. That's a big thing. A lot of people don't lock their doors when they're in the house. Any passcodes, electronic keys, locks, anything like that, change them fairly regularly. You never know if you have kids, they might have given them out to a friend. If those friends have a falling out, you never know what might happen, right? So you just continuously change them. Never hide keys out in the sun. Everybody knows you're under the planter or under the thick rock in your garden, so never hide your keys outside. This is a big one. Don't announce vacations and trips on social media when you know your house is going to be empty for a period of time. A lot of people do that. Like, I'm so excited to go to Italy for 2 weeks. And if people know that you live alone or that your whole family's going, your house is going to be empty, that's a perfect time to go. So when you come back, and say, wow, I had a great 2 weeks in Italy and put all the pictures up, but never before you go. Also, if you do end up going away for an extended period of time, make sure your house looks lived in. You can easily get those. I don't know if people have Alexas in their house or anything like that. You can always get those light switches that will turn your lights on and off at different times. Have your neighbors collect your newspaper or your mail, or even have it canceled during the time that you're away so that you don't have it delivered and you don't have things stocked up at your house. And I know Sergeant Cotty had mentioned that there were some phone numbers that we would leave up for you guys. So the crime manager's numbers are the ones at the top. So the first one is mine and the second one is Ian's. We also have the non-emergency police line. Sergeant Moore is in charge of our body worn camera stuff. And then there's this is the aggressive driving hotline. So there's the online as well as the phone number. Both the Crime Stoppers numbers, and then this is our traffic unit. Although they're out of the mountain station, they do go through the full city. So if you have an issue in the extent, that's the same traffic unit that would be going. At this time, I'm going to open it up for any questions that anybody has.
Crime Stoppers do presentations or?
Let me go over any questions for our presentation first, and then then we'll turn it over to Crime Stoppers.
The world's smallest mic is right here.
Jump in one second. Just be quick. As what was mentioned, so Division 2, we go from Superintendent mentioned, we go from Sherman Avenue to the Niagara border, which is just beyond. It's not doing any good down here. So,
No.
so we went to the Niagara Port. We also go from the lake all the way up regional road. So just out of curiosity, with participation. So within that area where we police, anybody know how many officers at a given time working? 8.
What's that? It's really low.
That's really awesome. All right, just need. You think it's you're give you half points. Anybody else? Throw a number. You guys can't answer.
Yeah.
Sorry? Highway 20 in the lake.
The whole map then showing
Yeah, Highway 20 on the hill, the lake, to Sherman, all the way to the Niagara border.
Say, maybe 100?
Okay, you're closer, so there's no prize unfortunately, but so within that area, our rosters on day shift today, I checked, there's 16 officers.
That's it?
That's it. So again, a lot of people get perturbed because I'm waiting 2 hours because the police haven't responded.
That's
Well,
why.
as soon as we get a major incident, whether it be, let's say, a shooting or a stabbing, the majority of those officers are now on that call, preserving evidence, blocking the scene. So now we only have a select few officers that are responding to the calls for service, right? A lot of people don't realize kind of how many officers are working at one given time because, again, people think there's a lot more of us on the road than there is. The reality is, this is what our numbers are, right? Like, will that these will fluctuate because officers will be on training. So sometimes when they're on training or on vacation or they're in court, the numbers go down lower. Other times they'll go up a little bit higher, but it just gives you an idea of kind of how many officers are around.
I'm short staffed and.
Sorry.
Or you can also just repeat the question.
Yeah, just repeat the question.
Yeah.
How short staffed are we?
In terms of, so how short staffed are we? In terms of, well, we have 16, but our minimum number, so we start with a minimum number for each shift. So in Division 2, that's 17. Actually. So if Ian calls it sick, from 17, we're down to 16. So we are allowed to call somebody in overtime. So then, so this is what happens a lot of time, sick or for whatever reason, they may be off or, you know, so there are some overtime opportunities. We try to get back up to 17. A lot of times people are all tired and don't want to come in on a Friday night. So then we run short. As we said, yesterday was 16 instead of our minimum was 17. Downtown, or what we call Station 1 headquarters down on King William Street. There as well, it's roughly the same number, 16, and the mountain is, I think, one up 18. So the answer to your question there's less than 50 officers in all of Hamilton at any one time. So that one giant map from, the Niagara border to Burlington to, Cambridge to, Waterdown. So there's 50 officers.
So if you had staff,
Sorry, sir, what?
if you had staff to your maximum, how many officers should there be?
50.
50 altogether?
That's it. Yeah.
That's it.
So 17 is if people were not on training or not on holidays, because the summer, we still try to staff 17, but we may have 6 people off on holidays. And there's a minimum number there as well in terms of our contractual agreement. And so then, yes, we may have 20 officers one day in the winter, but in the summer, usually we're trying to get to 17.
And then to sidebar of that question, we talked about crime.
Yes,
What about traffic?
yes,
I don't see police officers putting a lot of people over their speed.
Right.
Red lights, all the stuff that's going on. You never used to see that. See what we can do that sort of traffic control, and you don't see them now.
agreed.
It's often.
Sorry, look.
So we don't see officers so much in conducting traffic anymore, for repeating the question there. And
Before you answer, there's a similar question online, because there's also
Is it?
online
Okay.
people. So I just wanted to add, so you're not answering
Sure.
twice. But yeah, if you could just talk about the process of aggressive drivers and if they find that it's a contravention to the law. I don't know what that means. But
let me sorry. So yes, there is a separate traffic unit as Ian said, from a crime management perspective. You call their number, say there's in your neighborhood on whatever street there is, there's always,
But that's not the function of police. They're supposed to be out there with their eyes looking, not
Correct.
waiting for
so
public to call.
for sure.
It's
So our
too late.
Exactly. So our job is proactive and reactive. Right now, I would say, I mean, there's supposed to be a decent balance there. Right now, I would say reactively, our actual 911 calls, officers in their 12-hour shift, I would say, depending on the day, 80% of the time, we're reacting to calls for service. Radio comes off, you get a call, you want to go for lunch? No, can't go for lunch here. There's a domestic progress over here, or there's whatever we're going to call it. So our job mainly, unfortunately, is reactive. In that 20% of time, depending on the day, time of day, could be quiet more in the morning. We have some proactive time. We're going around, we're trying to, look at, find some crime, and traffic is that one part of it as well. And this is just our divisional. There is a traffic safety unit. See them on the Red Hill, you see them on the Link, you see them on kind of hotspots. They drive motorcycles during the summer. They have the ghost markings, the blacked out kind of explorers with the kind of markings that are kind of, you can barely kind of see them. So those are the traffic unit. That's the traffic cop. So for us, for our officers here in Division 20, so when they have some time, again, we have those cameras in the cars, goes off all the time. So we try to do proactive stops as well, doing speeding, doing traffic enforcement, license plate, whatever kind of comes across suspended driver, doesn't have a license, doesn't have insurance, or through the crime manager's office, we get lots of calls on specific, my street is having that kid with a loud muffler driving that Honda Civic, it always flies through the stop sign at this kind of time of day. So the crime managers will go down there, assess it, and then have the beat officer go down there and just sit on that stop sign and watch for that kid to kind of come up and do some complaint driven enforcement there. So that again is important. Don't complain to your counselor, call that number and we'll send some people down. By all means, that's the kind of stuff.
That's just a stopgap operation.
Yes,
So we've got people driving Red Hill, doing 100K and plus, lots of accidents are happening.
for sure.
And you don't see the police very often. You used to see the one coming down Red Hill, who'd be sitting at the bottom in a marked car. I haven't seen them I don't see them anymore.
Yeah,
You're surprised about our numbers, about how many are working today?
Mhm.
That's it, right? If we had 100 officers, you'd be seeing us around and we'd be doing that.
Yeah, so
our priority,
Your staff.
100%.
oh yeah, no, I would agree. I would agree.
Our
That is a,
priority is the staff, security, so the things.
Just to touch on what we are stopping. That's here, but I know like the last weekend, we did have over 300 tickets. So I know, for example, that we may not see them all the time. They definitely are out there.
No, I
They
understand.
definitely are.
It's just that crime and traffic is gone. It's escalated to a new height. You've never seen before. You've got people who live with stop signs. And I was saying the last couple of years, I've almost been hit 3 times. And people don't stop for stop sign, walking my dog. And you kind of look at somebody's done and you're going, we can go stop. We can go stop.
no, we're, and unfortunately, we agree with you as well. I mean, that's, it's a priority for us as well. Again, staffing is an issue. We know, and from the callers there as well, aggressive driving, anything in excess of over 40 kilometers from the posted speed limit is what we call stunt driving now as well. And you get hard towed for that if you're 40 over. But yes, that is definitely a concern. And that is the number one thing that we hear at these kind of community meetings. Everyone is traffic related is their number one concern.
I look down the street and see from school. And they come flying up that street, slows the time.
Yeah.
They don't pay attention. 30K, they're supposed to be doing 50, 60K.
Call Ian tomorrow, sir, and then we can send some officers down.
I see people literally stop at red light and just decide, well, I'm done waiting for that stoplight and they burn through it. So I'm kind of pro red light camera. I'm pro, yep.
There's the counselor.
Yeah. Awesome.
Speed cameras and red light cameras. I mean, I always hated them, but that's the only way you're gonna. Insurance, they'll slow them down.
Yeah, so insurance, yeah, for sure. I also think that like we can put pressure on the prevention government to up the standards for getting your driver's license and education and put pressure on Doug Ford's government as like, I think it's a little too lax, the driving school, so that'd be a start too. But I'm kind of, I've been working to try to make my neighborhood a little, more safe, I often report to the aggressive drivers hotline. It's pretty good. But I keep getting asked, oh, did you get a picture? And how would I get, oh, hold on, I got a
Sure,
street, I got a photo.
Picture of the vehicle, you're asking for?
Yeah, so I keep getting asked that.
Yeah,
I
great,
did,
but
I want to report that I had a very good, weird incident with a weird trucker. He was driving his truck really loud by my house and I reported to aggressive drivers and I kept data. If you can keep data, guys, keep data, that helps the police. But the aggressive driver cop was so helpful, but I actually had to wait in the bushes from 4 a.m. till I literally sat in the bushes in front of my house from 4 a.m. till 8 a.m. every morning for about 2 weeks straight, just to catch a video because the cop wanted me to catch a video of this guy doing it. And I did it. I did it. I couldn't get it. That's a place in the bushes. It was like I don't.
Little bit.
So this data collection, man, then I can pinpoint, which brings me to also the truck route violations, which is the same guy who does the aggressive drivers thing. I've been reporting every time, it's going on a year and nothing's happening. I thought the data collection was supposed to bring the cops out to a hot spot. But nothing's happening. We get about 10 trucks a day according to the city's own traffic study. So that's another, I'm like, well, I can't get photos. I can't how much do you want us to do? You know what I mean? So it's frustrating. I'm a little frustrated.
Yeah, that's something we can assist with as well, in terms of any kind of complaint, kind of driven, things like that. We could reach out to the traffic unit. Is it truck route, is it not a truck queue? What kind of time is this happening? We partner with the MTO as well in terms of heavy trucks and vehicle inspections. So there are certain other kind of things we can do as well. Blitzes, the officer reported on it was the Easter weekend, again, long weekend kind of driving blitz, 300 consideration kind of thing. So again, let us know where it is. The log idea, yes, clearly you've been dealing with police before there, if you have that. So yes. Of course, we want to know the vehicle type, what kind of car it is, license plate they have, that kind of thing, for sure. That helps us immensely. So, but if we don't know about it, we can't send someone down. So by all means, and that's for the whole room there. We need to know. We have to call us and provide that information. So
Superintendent Angela, please.
So only based the number of police for hiring, but is it based on calls? Is it based just the process of how they
basically it's the chief going to council, and the council can speak to this as well in terms of this budget. I mean, it may come down, it's the high level, has a whole presentation on that. I mean, there's certain pop ratios, they call that, where the city grows. When I was young, obviously the city Hamilton used to be 300,000 people. Now it's 550, 600,000. So, I mean, and from a policing side of things, we can show you that we had the same amount of cops 30 years ago as we did now. So, I mean, that would be our argument. There may be other arguments as well. I understand that. Everything costs money. I understand that as well. But the chief basically can ask for more kind of officers in his budget. Budget for the council, for the services board, and that kind of gets yay or nay. And ultimately, I'm giving you the reader digest version here, it gets hashed out. So that is, there's a lot of different metrics to kind of argue one side or the other in terms of violent crime index. That's from Stats Canada. There's pop ratio. There is a lot of other kind of things. I mean, that are not, a direct science, but there's a lot of data that you can kind of use to argue one way or the other. Ultimately, it comes down to dollars and cents. But yeah.
Question online?
I have another question on
Yes.
this. This is a good one. As opposed to the other. Is there a way, something happened regarding an investigation for something that, so you reported on something, you're looking for follow-up, what's the best way to get that follow-up?
So best we could follow up on something that you have reported on, but you may not be involved in is what I'm kind of getting to. So privacy is difficult, and so that is, so if I'm reporting on a fight across the street, can the officer then report and tell you kind of what happened? Can't give you specifics, obviously from the name or personal information side of things. It's large enough, like it's the media. Otherwise, if you just call the station and say, hey, what happened down there at the street? Probably not gonna try. Or they don't really know exactly. A lot of times I get asked even personally, like, oh, what happened on whatever, there's a bunch of police cars on Parkdale and whatever. Wow. What out of the 10 times where we're down on Parkdale tonight, are you referring to? I don't know. I don't. It's difficult. And again, I would say from a privacy side of things, can't really divulge too much. So yeah.
So I'm actually gonna take one more question, and then what we're gonna do is we'll invite either Dr. Rahim or Ala to come up and just introduce themselves really quickly, and also give the last word to our Crime Stoppers, and that way they can pitch and promote. You guys all have like the little pads of paper anyway, but if we can ask. Mr. Just Bill, Bill from Crime Stoppers is here as well. So last question then.
It's just. You said like 100 officers or something, or 100
Overall in the city, 50 at a time. Right now, there's hopefully 50 in the city, the whole city. So we have 16 and then 17 and 18.
You can say like, dumb question, but like how many vehicles were those 50?
So we in Hamilton, it's one officer per cruiser. So
Oh.
that's one per role. We don't double up. I know our partner agency in Toronto, nighttime they double up. So you see 2 officers in a car in Toronto. So from a visibility side of things, I can tell you that's why we do it. So if we have 17 officers today, you'll see 17 cruisers. Whatever vehicle they're driving.
So probably outside of the numbers, sorry, it's just frontline patrol officers.
Yes.
It's not all officers.
So yes, there may be 3 traffic officers there. There'll be detectives driving, plane door cars, and there'll be other things there as well. But I mean, from a patrol side of things, like a marked police cruiser, maybe one on one. So there'll be 17 cars at any one. Every call is usually a 2-person car, so it'll be 2 people together. So there's, I know we're pushing on time. Just
I
sorry.
did have a clarification from you online.
Okay, sorry.
That they are involved
So
in.
they are involved in, they
Yes.
should have a report number or we call it ad number. So if you are reporting something, if you're involved in some sort of a crime, always ask for the officer's name, badge number, and they'll have a report number. So you can follow up with that officer or call the station. There was a number there as well, I believe for Division 2 potentially. You can call to the station and ask to speak with that officer. Again, we work shifts. It might be a couple of days to get back to you. But use that report number. That's your reference. So there will be a report on that. So there will be some sort of follow up with that report.
If they wanted a solid piece of the paper that the information is written on, that's where they would go to Freedom of Information as well, which I've touched on at the changes.
So yes, and then for freedom of information after the fact or for different kind of things, there's a freedom of information number. You can call in. It's a small fee, but you can get whatever reports were potentially involved there as well. And just a quick little wrap up. Today, again, I know lots of questions. By all means, reach out to us. Sorry, yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, again, thanks for having us. I know we're wrapping up here shortly. Big kind of takeaways, communicate to us, call in, report things to us. We can't help you if we don't know what's kind of going on. Get that a lot where it's been, it's happened in 2 years. Never heard about it. Also, from traffic side of things, sir, I'm on your side. From an officer perspective to traffic safety is number 1. And I push our officers to get out there and do more whenever we have the chance to do that. Priority response system was touched on by Sergeant Cotty. The big takeaway there is, yes, I understand the frustration when you call the police and we may not be there right away. Priority response system means that if the gentleman here with the hat has his truck potentially kind of stolen, he wants to go and report that. He's been waiting, we're on our way there, but all of a sudden now someone is being robbed at knife point at the ATM when they're getting money out of their bank. So I was coming to take your report, but guess what? I have to now, because there's only 16 of us, I'm going over here to answer that call with maybe 4 or 5 other officers are heading there as well. 'Cause it's a crime in progress, and that's a higher priority than your call. That's we have those similar kind of complaints in these kind of town meetings. And again, not just an awareness side of things of how the police kind of operate. We go to the number one priority. We can almost be there, but then we get pulled away. And then, we get complained that, yes, you had the guy's description that was trying to break into your shed or your house or whatever. So ultimately, if they're gone, it's a report. Yes, I understand it's a priority to you, and I get 100%. I get that. But we are only so many of us, and we have to go where the priority is for whatever kind of a call. So that's the kind of thing. Thank you.
Invite. Let's see where the market.
Yes, very good.
So. With service, just been here all the less than 5 months. I work with Dr. Samani.
Good evening, God. Yes, my name is Rahim Samnani. I'm the EDI specialist, so equity, diversity, inclusion. So my role includes like hiring, HR work, policy procedures, training. So all of our new officers get trained by myself, just to ensure that we're having the competency to understand what we need to do with our mental health, for example, understanding different cultures, races, and so forth, genders. So all of that goes through me. Also our communications who come in, I also train them, our cadets and super specials. So it's really good to have that collaboration where I focus internally, whereas Al focuses externally, but we do work very much closely together.
So, like I said, I'm the community engagement lead. Happy to stay around and connect with people. Thank you, Councilor, for inviting us to work too. Just there's Ward 4. So sorry. But there's so much more than policing besides the things that Superintendent Sargent talked about. There is community, there is your voice is so important. We work very closely with our training. And we do a lot of external work that we're trying to bring internal. It's like, if you think about it, it's like a seesaw, bring inside and outside together. So your voice is really important. So please do reach out, and I'll be around today to connect to some of you.
Yeah, stay with me. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you. And Bill from Crime Stoppers.
Hi, thank you for having me. I am, as superintendent, I hold the rank, but I don't hold the rank. I am seconded to Crime Stoppers. So when I say we and I refer to we, I'm going to refer to Crime Stoppers. You look at me as the bridge. Crime Stoppers is not a police program. Crime Stoppers is a community program. It is a charity. And it is a program that is 100% anonymous and gives the community a way to tell somebody, share information with the police or any law enforcement agency in the world, because we're worldwide, what's going on in a manner that protects the identity of that tipster and potentially could give them a reward of up to $2,000. If you look at it, police are over here.
Like in front of your face.
Sorry, police are on one side. Crime Stoppers are on the other side. I am the bridge of that. And I have to be that bridge because the information I have to share, someone has to share that information with law enforcement. So that's what I do. We've been around in Hamilton since 1983. I had a PowerPoint presentation, some slides. To date, since 1983, we have collected almost $228 million worth of proceeds of crime, property, cash, drugs. And we're all about the community. We want to be involved in the community. That's why I'm here. Our community engagement program is just trying to get you involved because you are out there. You see something, we want you to say something. We want you to bring that forward to me or to Crime Stoppers so we can share with police. Okay, it's that simple. 1-800-222-TIPS, that's the phone number that's up here. 8477 is the digital numbers. That will put you in contact with Crime Stoppers anywhere in Canada. And I have access to, again, law enforcement anywhere in Canada, anywhere in the world. We're in, we have 37 programs in Ontario. We have, how many countries?
Love who Bill, who's the bridge, still has to look.
I look at my team because, so 23 countries. So, and I'm looking at Pat. Pat just celebrated her 25th year anniversary with Crime Stoppers. So yes, I looked at Pat because Pat is just a wealth of knowledge and information for me. So I don't want to take up much more of your time. but I do want to say this is we are a charitable organization. We are the community. And we want to share that information. We want to make our community safer. And the way we can do that is by you guys coming forward. Okay. I don't want to know who's called Crime Stoppers, but before this presentation, are you guys aware of what Crime Stoppers is? Because we're not a police program, and just make sure that you guys understand that is we are a community charity program working with the police and every other law enforcement agency, municipal, provincial, federal in the world. Okay, started in 1976 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and it has a Canadian. A Canadian went to Albuquerque, New Mexico, became a detective, and there was a robbery homicide in a gas station that was unsolved. Before he was a detective, he was a journalist, worked for a television station. So he created the first reenactment, and here we are today. Hamilton alone, almost $227 million. Okay. Right now sorry, I love questions. Yes.
Just repeat the question.
So would you call Crime Stoppers if you don't want to be identified? Yes. Crime Stoppers is an anonymous way to provide information to the police where you don't have to go, you're guaranteed never go to court. No one will ever know who you are, and the potential to get a reward of up to $2,000. Yes. So if you are a victim of a crime, you can't call because there's no way we can protect your anonymity. If you have all those details and you're keeping track and you have all those traffic things, that's great information, but potentially too much information because then there's a way that people can identify you. You know what? We just want the facts. Basic. Black car, running the stop sign, almost hit a kid. Here's a license plate. Like that. Two teens, one had a gun, wearing a black backpack. His name is Joe Smith. That's it. And that's enough to start. We send that off to the investigators and off we go.
Well, thank you, Bill from Crime Stoppers.
You all have my card. I know. Thank you. I would love to reach out if you have any community groups or any other things. Talk to your schools. I'd be more than happy to go to school and do a more formal presentation. But if you have questions, concerns, comments, my email's on there, my phone. Please reach out. Questions from anyone? Thank you. Sorry.
So say I see a guy going through a stop sign with through a red light,
Yep.
I call you.
Yep. So you see a gentleman running a stop sign going through a light, you're going to call me.
I've got his license plate
You
now.
have the license plate now? Yeah.
So you.
That information would come to me.
Yeah.
I would then take that information, make sure that there's nothing that you sent to me that could potentially lead to your identity. So if you were to send me a picture or something like that, potentially that could lead to, so I wouldn't want that. But so what's that going to tell me? That's going to say, okay, we have problems in this traffic area. So I'm going to send that to a traffic unit. Okay. The more information that they have, then again, like you would talk to the crime managers, or you would call the traffic unit or the aggressive hotline. Okay, then they would send out and they would know, okay, we got a hot spot in this area. Okay. If you have a license plate, if there was enough information there that they could lead to identifying the driver and talking to the driver, then they would go from there.
So in a situation like this, would it be better just to call the crime manager or traffic unit?
Superintendent is nodding his head very vigorous.
Thank you. Because, you know, there's layers upon layers.
More direct route, I would say, yes. I think I'm your best at.
So by the time something comes into me,
Yeah.
okay, we have a call center that's monitored 24 hours a day. So you can supply tips via calling the 1-800 number, going online at www.crimestoppersofhamilton.com, or scanning a QR code off your cell phone. Okay, and all that information gets put in to a website. That website is also monitored by the National Anonymous Call Center. So if something comes in that's a higher priority, then we can do an immediate dispatch. We can call 911. It would be a Crime Stoppers call to 911 saying, this has happened.
Question.
I got a question, Sandy, but it's not for Bill. It's more of the city has taken 11.3% in the last 2 years in taxes. How come the police force isn't proportionate to the city workers and all the crap that goes on with the city workers?
Sure.
I'm gonna let her answer that. Does anyone else have any questions for me?
That's the one we.
Okay, you have my card. Please reach out if you have any questions, any comments, or if you want some more information. I'd be more than happy to send you stuff, stickers, anything like that. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Bill from Crime Stoppers. Thank you. I'm going to rip through really quickly the rest of our presentation. I'm also gonna, I don't know how to answer that question really, because
Well, you've got city.
Yep.
Employees in the city,
the city has almost 8,000 employees.
8,000 employees at the city. And the inefficiencies at the city with parks not being mowed, sidewalks not being done, road not being done properly. And we got 16 on shift,
Right.
police officers, that doesn't make sense.
So I will also, just before I try and answer that question, the police are gonna be leaving. If you do want to try and catch them and speak to them. Oh, Ala and Dr. Rahim are staying. Okay, thank you. But yeah, if you wanted to speak to any of the officers, you can probably just duck outside into the hallway to speak to them directly. But otherwise, if you're signed up for this town hall, we can send you this presentation, so you'll have this information as well. We'll email these out to anybody that's signed up. And if you aren't signed up, just talk to Jack or Soraya and we'll make sure. So thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Okay, so to answer your question, the police force does ask for a budget every single year. They ask, but then they manage their own budget. So they're the ones that, the chief is actually the one that does the hiring, does the deployment, all of that stuff. They ask us for 200, and last year it was $282 million, right? And so that takes up, if you think of the pie chart, and this is, you were at the budget meeting in January, that's almost 20% of the entire global budget. Okay, so at the end of the day though too, you also saw that one pie chart where we also have social services, we also have parks, we also have roads, we have water. So all of that kind of gets factored in as well. So it's not necessarily like 8,000 employees are only on parks or only on roads or only, so we do split it all up as well. So I know you're looking for a very specific answer that I'm not sure I'm able to answer for you. So
An easy way to answer this question. What efficiencies are the wards looking at in the city to increase productivity and not taking money from us, the taxpayers?
absolutely, in terms of efficiency, we only look at it from a very high level. So from a counselor's role, my role is to be your direct liaison, but the only employee I can direct is the city manager. That's the only employee. So in fact, when our office goes off and we talk to roads teams, it's an ask. It's not a direction. It's an ask every single time. And so the city manager is then in charge of the entire bureaucracy of the city of Hamilton, including all of the section leads, all of the departments, all of that stuff. So we direct her to find these efficiencies. We ask staff to look at it from a process-driven perspective. Most recently, I was looking at it from a planning perspective, to look at it from a building, planning, permitting sort of perspective, asking for things like a customer journey map and all of that stuff. Again, as a counselor, I can make the ask, but I can only direct the city manager to do that work. So, okay, so can I just get through my word update really quickly? So there's a lot. They had like 40 slides.
And the slides were on.
And they're all over the
Their
place.
slides were out of order.
We might have to talk to them about slide management. So right now, the city of Hamilton is working on the 10-year downtown revitalization strategy. We all see downtown. We know it's challenging, it's messy, there's a lot going on down there. So this is a real opportunity for you as board residents and as residents of the city to participate in saying to the organization, this is what we want to see. Do we want to prioritize safety? Do we want to prioritize like lighting the streets? Do we want to prioritize safety and street design? Do we want to ask the police to help us with community SEPTED, which is community protect, no, what's SEPTED again? It's like designed by, like, it's community designed by safety. Essentially, the police actually have this as a free service, which they didn't talk about. I should have asked them for that.
Yeah.
It's crime prevention.
Crime prevention through environmental design, and they actually do this for free. So
It is on our website. You can go in and request to have someone actually come and audit your space, your business, your home, and provide some ideas on how to ensure that your home is safe or your business is safe. So anyway, but in different aspects.
Ala just said that SEPTED is on the Hamilton Police website. You can actually request somebody to come through and actually do an audit. It's for free. That's for your business, for your home, that sort of thing. I know that we've had several businesses ask for this service, so it's a great service. So it is on the website, CPTED.
I'll have my business cards if you email, I'll send you the direct link and then.
Yeah, so, and we'll try and remember to put it in the slides before we send it out. So yeah, this is on the engagehamilton.ca website. We are asking for any participation in this because the downtown is very important. So we want to make sure that everyone's voices are heard. Next slide is upcoming projects. So you might start seeing a lot of this stuff happening. The LRT is starting to happen. In particular, this is along right outside of here, literally.
Yeah.
Rosewood, Strathern, right along Main Street, all of this. You'll also see that Dylan has got a little bit of work as well. It's all around actually moving the subsurface infrastructure somewhere else. So that way we can enable LRT to come through. So that's already happening. We also have State of Good Repair. Finally, our office has been trying so incredibly hard to get our roads teams to patch potholes, fill in the cracks, do surface work. Yes.
You have contractors repairing the road because of a broken water main, sewers. Does the city come in and inspect the patching that they do? There's 3 areas just in my general area where they make repairs.
Yep.
And they just slap asphalt on it. They don't compact it like they used to do it.
Right.
It doesn't last a winter because I'll put it all back up. And so we've got potholes on Edgemont, on Province, on Kensington. We've got 2 on Edgemont, just potholes in the middle of the roads because the asphalt didn't work out. They didn't press it properly. So do we not monitor what contractors do is my question.
Just gonna work by so the question is, do we actually have contract or project managers or people that come out to check the work of contractors? In particular, it's because people patch the potholes and then they don't last very long and then we have to get them repaved at some point. So that's the question, right? So in fact, yes, there is project managers that will go out and actually inspect the work. However, many times it depends on the pothole and it depends on the work that needs to happen. So for example, Strathern is terrible. It has huge crevasses where people are trying to slalom their way down the street.
Every street in Hamilton is like that.
So what we've done is agreed. So when our office talks to the roads team, what they tell us that they'll go out and they'll just patch it to get it to a point where it is a little more drivable. But Strathern, for example, is absolutely in need of a full reconstruction. So rather they just, because the queue and the list is very long, they can't just slot in, that we kind of have to go into a queue. So Strathern is going to get patched, people go out and check it, but ultimately it might be in the queue to actually get a full reconstruction. So that's kind of what happens right now, is that it happens on these, like, just patch it, make sure that it's raring to go.
The only major street I've seen repaired is Bart Street between the highway and Parkdale. That's the only major
Yep.
street that I've seen
That-
repaired.
That was That was scheduled
That was
and it
one,
was,
that was one of the worst streets
oh, it's,
in Canada by the CAA, you know how they do that?
oh, trust me,
And this year-
trust me.
And this year, when they ask you that question, which street is the worst street, you can't answer that because you
Oh,
don't have space to put down all the streets.
well, I think that to the roads teams to ensure that Ward 4 roads are being put higher into priority. I'm also asking, can I contribute ward dollars to try and push them along and get them a little more prioritized? So I will have to say that unfortunately, it kind of has to fit into the queue of how engineering services sets this all up. I'm also super interested in the Kenilworth access because I find that the Kenilworth access between 4 and 6 is also terrible. So because it's
They're not
also,
terrible. You just don't-
I'm trying,
don't take one street.
absolutely I'm trying.
So you were mentioning about traffic issues. So here's a good example. The Barton Street and Woodward Avenue intersection. It was scary as heck to cross from the north to the south side on the east side.
Yeah, it is.
Because there's two left turning lanes and I drive the truck as well. And I'm telling you, even I had to physically remember to look to make sure there's pedestrians. So I saw an opportunity, and this is things you can think of. When you see an opportunity, it's being redone, I went, oh, I'm gonna write Tammy Wang and say, hey,
Just listen,
we,
just listen. I'll tell you about a light there. in-
can I finish?
So,
Can I finish? It's rude. So, okay, so I wrote Tammy Wang and said, I see potential while we're fixing this. Can we make this intersection safer? And guess what? She said something and it's so much safer. I ask people while they're like, while I'm biking through on my way to work, I'll ask people who just crossed, hey, did you find that how'd you find it? Cross, they go way better. So just, these are things that you can do as a citizen to get involved and help Tammy Wang.
We had that intersection in Maple and Otter Street. You asked for a street light there, a traffic light. Never got it because pedestrians cross. There's no pedestrians that cross that street, very little. There's a lot of traffic that crosses that intersection,
So Narendra and I brought that up,
and it never happened.
but at that point, all of procurement had already forward.
It doesn't matter. If you've done something wrong, you correct it. You just don't let it go the way it is.
So I will also say that we put that in, it was a big investment, traffic told us, and this is because I'm not a traffic person. I don't know how traffic works. I don't have an engineering background, so I do have to trust experts. And when the experts are telling me that a PX, like just a pedestrian crossing with flashing lights is sufficient, we have also told them, because you're not the only one that told us about a 4-way stop at that intersection. If we asked for a full stop, like a full red light stop, and at that point, the traffic people said that it was already done, that they had already put it in, that we can ask for more data as we watch it go through. So at this point, rather than rip it out, waste all that taxpayer dollars, let's wait to see how it
They
does.
were told before that this initially started, that's not what we.
That is you're right. I did say that. And I said that right when we got in. When I got into this seat in November of 2022, I was absolutely approached to talk about that. But by that point, Narendra had already done a lot of that advocacy for that particular intersection. And a lot of that was already being pushed through. We ended up together putting a motion to add more money to it, just to push it through the system as fast as possible. Otherwise, we had to kind of wait for it to be in the queue.
You waste too much. That's all I'm saying.
So I want to say that I do listen. I just cannot snap my fingers. I cannot. There is a whole machine and machination that.
I understand. That's why you're the only person in this ward on our behalf with citizens in that area. It's not just me. There's many that asked for that particular light.
Agreed.
Because of accidents. Didn't want to say the police repair, the police car didn't actually hit somebody, brought something.
That's right, yes.
He was flying down that street. There were no lights to change. fellow pulled out, he couldn't see the car coming down the street.
So I'm working on it, we're trying, but at the end of the day, I also don't have a magic wand to make these things happen materialistically out of thin air. So the only challenge is I have to also work within the system.
You know, we asked for them, somebody to come out and talk to us. Nobody ever came out, nobody ever touched base with us.
Oh, I was out there at Dina's house, that's right on the corner. She had invited like 8-10 neighbors. So I'm not sure how you mean that I wasn't there because I was actually
I didn't
physically
say
in
you
her
were-
house.
Pointing at you, I said staff that was involved in that intersection.
You're very funny, just so you know.
Well, she's part of the
Maybe,
situation.
maybe you could talk
You're
with her
being
about
rude too.
this later,
You're
because
being rude
she's
too.
got a presentation. We don't want to hear her now about personal stuff. Sorry, Taylor works really hard for us. She works really hard for
I'm
us.
not saying.
I would love to see you do half the job she does. Now you settle down, let her finish her presentation.
Let's chat afterwards. Okay, let's chat afterwards. All right, thank you. So let's move on to development. We have several ongoing, so this is at the Queenston Traffic Circle. Thankfully, these are actually going to be move-in ready by the end of summer, no, beginning in and around summertime. This is what they tell me because it is mostly done. So it is a really, they look amazing. The insides are amazing. So the 55 Queenston at the traffic circle, it's almost ready to go. 1620 is right on Main Street here, right at the traffic circle. And Roxborough Park, phase 2 and phase 3 are moving forward with townhouse maisonettes. And then there are also 2 rental towers that are going in, plus 1 condo unit rental tower, condo tower going in. So those ones are at site plan right now and they're raring to go. 785 Britannia, which is McQueston, it's down this way and it's the new Bindigan Wellness Center. That's actually going to go to public information for rezoning because they're taking the old school, which is institutional, and actually moving it into residential. This is going to be 105 family-friendly units, mostly geared towards Indigenous families. And it will also include primary care medical center on site and daycare and a lot of Indigenous learnings and that sort of thing. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful site. 1362, 1374 Barton Street. So this is essentially Barton near Kenilworth. This is actually right across from the Royal Hamilton Light Infantry, so the Riley. Right now, it's been kind of cordoned off. There is one singular standing residential house, but that whole area has been parceled together by Kiwanis, and so they'll be building affordable seniors housing there. But they're waiting for demolition permit. So this one is super exciting to watch as well. And then in terms of what's coming up, we have lots of events happening at the STEAM and Technology Museum. There's a bunch listed here. We have some community events next Tuesday. Next Tuesday, myself and Abby, who is the new Ward 4 trustee for the Hamilton Wentworth District School Board, we're going to host the Community Connections Night. So it's geared towards families, moms, dads, parents, guardians, anybody that's interested in school board things, but also would like to learn more about ward things or ward things that would like to know about school people things. This is the opportunity to come out and hang out. We have a rain barrel sale. So Hungry along Ottawa Street is coming May the 10th. There is also a housing information fair. This is what Narinder and I, so Ward 3 and I are working on, to essentially do it like science fair style, where we're going to actually bring all of these different developers, affordable housing developers, to come together to put up little displays to talk about their projects. That's going to be down at the Bernie Morelli Recreation Center. That's on May 14th. And then Delta, my old alma mater, they're going to do a 100th birthday. So it's not 75th anniversary, it's the 100th birthday. And they want to dig up one of the time capsules and just do a fun little event. We're still learning a little bit more about what that looks like, so we'll keep you guys updated on that. So, and then last bit is our office attends a lot of community meetings. In particular, these are community meetings for industry. As we all know, we still have black soot. We still have a lot of air pollution. We still have a lot of noise pollution. So our office actually goes and attends these community liaison committee meetings like ArcelorMittal, Rain Carbon, And then we also have different associations, community associations that we also attend, Rosedale, McQueston, as well. Angela that was here is in the new Parkview. So she's created a new Parkview association. There is a powwow with the Hamilton Regional Indian Center. So that's also in our ward, but they're going to be down at Pier 4. So that might be something to participate and attend. And then, okay, now more questions and more on the firing line, please. Yes,
We won't argue anymore.
yes,
BUT,
BUT,
in January, when I was there,
yep,
they said that people that own the houses.
Yep.
And people that are derelict or moved out or.
Yep.
For the house. I thought those people were the ones that have to report. Why do citizens that are living in their house have to report? Because that, to me, the way they did it, I was sent 2 letters. And it was like a mob type attitude in the letters.
oh,
And I got somebody else's mail in my letter.
oh,
Like it was addressed to me. I read the first page.
right,
The second page was their information.
oh, no,
So there's the inefficiencies I'm talking about.
I see.
Just little things like that set me off and go, what the hell is their taxes paying?
So this is the first year that we were doing it, and we've given a lot of that feedback also to the VOT team. So you saw Andrew Wilkes that was here, same with his boss, Clayton Pereira. We have a direct line to them. Anytime we get these kinds of concerns, we directly funnel it over to them.
Okay.
There is supposed to be a report back to council on the VUT. And essentially what we keep getting to is we get monthly reports to our inboxes about how well the VUT is doing. So at the last time, because yesterday was the deadline, at the last time we had heard it was over 87% compliance, which meant that we had 87% of residents that had already put in their information. So, but there is lots of opportunity to give that level of feedback. Just please send it over to
Okay.
us.
What I'm saying is, why me as a taxpayer paying my taxes have to report to you what I'm doing with my house? That is not right. I am a free citizen. I shouldn't have to be putting out information to the city hall.
So
City hall is not my boss. I am their boss. The taxpayer is their boss. So I don't agree at all with telling them that I have to report to them. That's not right.
thank you for sharing that.
And
I'll
I'm
just,
never gonna do it again. I'm gonna let you know that. Never again will I report that. You got my report this time. I'm never reporting it again. My job is to go to work, pay the taxes in this city, pay the taxes to the government in federal, and pay the taxes to the other people in provincial. Not to be told, you gotta report. That's a mob type attitude, and that's wrong.
are you so we'll just, so
Shut up,
please,
bitch.
hey,
Whoa.
please, stop.
Where is the
No,
place?
no,
You want
please,
a fucking attitude, you took it out on him, you just stop at everything that somebody comes down on you.
sir, please.
Fuck, that's the problem with people. You don't even sit there, look.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm leaving.
Hold up, please, right now.
please, let's,
Thank you.
sorry, we'll take that under, we'll definitely take that feedback, thank you. All right, so other than that, we can chat some more,
I have another question.
sure.
What's happening down at Bayfront? You know,
What do you mean?
Well,
In what
it's
sense?
a big complex that they were gonna build, you know, the commercial and the residential area, it's kind of been roped off and
Yeah.
forgot.
No, it hasn't been forgotten. In fact, it's just moving incredibly slowly. So much of that has been demolished. They have already started to set all of that subsurface infrastructure. So the water mains, they're actually also planning on digging because there's going to be underground parking there. And then there's also, they're setting the foundations for potentially a really tall tower that's supposed to go in there.
Did they get that approval, that
Yes.
45-story tower that they want?
40-story
40
tower,
stories?
yes.
Sorry.
So they did get that approval, but it's all master planned. So the entire area is meant to be master planned. But yeah, right now they're still setting in all of the subsurface infrastructure to ensure that there's electrical, the sewer systems, all of that stuff. So that's still happening. But in terms of condo pre-sales and that sort of thing, a lot of that has been slow, and that's just because the market today. So many times, especially like when we have developments like at Delta Secondary or Brock University, New Horizon has already told us that they have put a pause to all of those developments because because of the market. And so they're having challenges or they see the instability of the marketplace. So they would much rather wait. And that's kind of what's happening. So in effect, this week I was in committee, and one of the big committee questions was, how do we support the developer community? And in particular, the developer community is asking council on how do we continue to cut things to ensure that we're trying to make it the most either streamlined, but also the most cost effective for them. And what we heard was, council, we're very, very efficient. I'm the chair of planning committee. So I actually I'm the one that chairs the whole committee meeting. We have over almost 1,200 units that we have already permitted just now this year. From January to May, we have already permitted 1,200 units, but we've only had 89 units started. So as you can see, the marketplace is really causing a lot of challenges and issues. So what we're trying to do as a council is look at development charges, incentives, how do we enable a little more confidence in the marketplace. So those are the levers that I'm working on too. Does that answer your question though?
Yeah.
It's working, it's happening, it's just happening slowly.
Yeah, no, I was just concerned about that one area because people always go down there to,
Yeah,
walk and
Yeah.
socialize and
Yeah.
nothing's really.
absolutely. Natasha?
In the spec, the Home Builders Association had a big list of recommendations, being in the business, they have them free.
Yeah,
And the federal and provincial governments, I believe, are gonna give incentives for affordable units. So that should help. The interest rate is going to stabilize, they're gonna hold on to that. So, or even, it should be, look, I'm getting busier at work with commercial real estate, so.
good.
So that's an indication of things starting to move.
So today in audit 9 minutes, we actually took a report on development charges, because in order for us to say cut the mechanism in which we can enable development, we actually have to go into a bylaw, enable the legislative process, which includes public consultation and that sort of thing. So our staff have put out a bare basic minimum as a starting point to have these conversations with the developer community to see what will hit, what won't hit, because the developers are very, very aggressive in terms of how they would like Hamilton to be. The challenge though is that we just don't have the same amount of money that say Burlington has or Milton has or Mississauga has. We just don't have the same dollars that we can potentially help with, because they have really, really aggressive incentives to help the developer community over there. And they want us to do the same, but we're just not in the same financial situation as those municipalities. So we're starting off and we're opening the conversation to have those conversations. But you're getting into a little bit of insider baseball, because that's what we talked about today, literally today at Audit and Finance today. So yeah. Hi.
So we both live along Central, and I'm already from years ago.
Yes.
And a neighbor mentioned that we were gonna be getting bike links and on Central, I'm sort of listening to, and I'm losing parking on one side of the street.
It's literally going to be a bike boulevard. So think of it as painted lanes, because Central doesn't have the same crazy amounts of traffic on it. It's a much slower street. It is still considered a bit of a collector, because you will use Central for bus detours. So the intention is to just demarcate or like just draw out This is a more of a safety zone for bicyclists so that they can use this as an opportunity to connect to all of the other biking infrastructure. But it doesn't mean that we're actually putting in permanent bike lanes there. It's just not big enough to warrant it. So yeah, like it's painted bike lanes essentially. It's a bike boulevard.
What are those humps or?
So in terms of speed humps, that's different because that's traffic calming. So we have been talking to traffic about it, but Central was never really on our radar. It's because LRT is coming. So Central may become a bus detour route. Nothing has been confirmed yet, but we're asking the HSR team to communicate with the community to get everyone's feedback. So that I literally had that meeting last week. So what we have asked is ask them to think through all of these things. But one of my big challenges is Central is a nice wide street. So this is why buses could potentially go down there. But then how do we detour them down smaller streets, say Rosewood or Cochrane's a really big street, but or if we come closer to Ottawa Street, how do they detour off of Edgemont, for example? Because Edgemont's fairly narrow. So how would you move buses around if you couldn't access the big intersection of Main and Ottawa? So that is going to have massive water main work that's coming as well. That'll be coming by the end of the year. You're going to start to see pylons. And then we're going to start to be pushing out once we get all of the information as well.
Side note, I work for a developer who's a member of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce Housing.
Oh, yeah.
If there's any synergies.
Cool, very cool. Yes, okay. How are you? I wanted to say Amanda, but you're not Amanda. So yeah, that's
Amber.
That's right, Amber. I'm so sorry about that.
I called her.
So the other day in The Spectator, there was somebody who wrote an article and he's trying to get like 1 million trees in Hamilton or 100,000 trees.
Okay.
And he was writing about how the city goes and puts trees along like the link. And they, every year we spend all this like $2 million a year, every year. We put trees there, they die in 5 years.
Yeah.
They never grow because of the salt, because of the pollution.
Yep.
And then they get 5 years later, they dig them up, they do it again.
Yep.
And they keep doing it and it's never going to stop.
Right.
You're just putting bad money after bad money.
Right.
And he was saying he wanted to go and divert those trees into areas where we're gonna actually get a tree canopy and we're gonna have shade.
Yep.
We're going to do all this.
Yep.
And he brought up the council and he said in January and 0 councillors were on board with it.
So I am actually, and I've had meetings with this gentleman,
I'm sure you-
and I have told him I am a firm tree lover and I believe in trees. I go out, if there's a tree planting, I plant trees with the ward. So we have been actively advocating for trees around the Kenilworth access, for example, because those are parkettes owned by the city, but nobody uses them like parks.
Yeah.
So, and we're also trying to discourage potential encampments along those parkettes. So my encouragement is plant more denser trees so we get more trees in that area, and which is what we're trying to do as well. But you're right, because the municipality really only has like a couple of really good spaces to really try and plant trees, and we wanted to try and plant trees along the link because you're trying to get more sound dampening, you're trying to get more air pollution mitigation and that sort of thing. But you're right, they die because of the salt, because of the air pollution, because of all of that stuff. The challenge that Lee really wants is to try and densify a lot of our our parks. And it's hard to push that in a lot of wards. Like in Ward 4, we don't have a lot of parks, we don't have a lot of green space. But what we put as our priority is how do we enable children to feel safe to also run around in soccer fields or big empty fields. And if you all of a sudden change that and it's a dense forest, now you have not enabled children the opportunity to run around in free green space. So it's challenging because trying to find the right spaces and the right places, also Parks also has a philosophy. He was thinking about densely putting trees, you know, where from the sidewalk and sometimes you can see there's a fence and then it's the park.
Yeah.
He wanted that space like between the sidewalk and the fence before the park. The challenge there is that people feel that you can't see into the park. And all of a sudden you would have visibility issues looking into the park. So safety becomes, so these are the things SEPTED, crime prevention, by design, right? Crime prevention by design. So the idea there is like using good planning, crime prevention type things. But also I'm a big believer in gender-based safety. So from a woman's perspective, yes, trees are lovely, but trees also could be scary, right? Especially if you have dense trees. So it's
Yeah,
not
but
as
this person hangs out in bushes.
yeah. Yeah, so those are the things. So that's the challenge is that you can't, he just really wants us to blanket and we're like, yes, but we also need to think about all of these other things, like how do we enable crime prevention? How do we enable gender-based safety? How do we enable free and open green spaces so kids can just run around? Right, so those are also equally important to putting more trees. So it's, again, he writes that and we've tried to explain to him, we're like, we want that, but we also need you to understand the other constraints.
Well, further to Amber's, the boulevard in front of my house, when they widened Rennie, they just dumped all the extra concrete and gravel, which is now a boulevard, and they plant trees in it, and the trees die all the time. And I wanted a new tree in front of my boulevard, on my boulevard. I specifically told the guy, you need to dig down, because it's all gravel. You need to take a lot of the soil out, put new stuff in, 'cause that tree ain't gonna survive. They didn't do it. I ended up digging the whole thing myself by hand and redoing it so that the tree will survive. But like how much, like, I'm not gonna lie, the city does a great job in many things, but some of the departments, oh my God, Tammy, they are frustrating.
I understand, and I think that that's also where this council is really actively trying to prioritize and get the culture to shift to a more customer service kind of culture. Because that was one of the big reasons why I wanted to put my name forward to be in this job, because I was so frustrated as an internal employee at how we were disregarding residents' concerns from inside of the organization. So, and then I realized that once I get into these rules, it's actually a very different story, and trying to think through how do we set up frameworks for people so that they can be successful, but also deliver customer service. Because what we're also seeing is a significant amount of morale issues. When you have morale issues, all of a sudden that translates into poorer customer service because they're not happy in their jobs. So how do we enable, and this is something that I know that Dr. Rahim thinks about quite often, is even from a police service, how do you enable a happier workforce, because they will in turn treat you guys, our customers, us, because we are the end customer. How do you then treat us better? So I'm coming at this from a governor's perspective because I need to take care of a bureaucracy, even though I only have one employee that I can direct. But how do I enable her so that she can enable this bureaucracy to deliver better customer service so that they treat us as the end customer better? So it's unfortunate, but we're working on that, and it's a slow process.
Andy Byford, who had the same issue, he came into the Toronto Transit Commission with the same issue.
Right.
If you can get hold of him.
Oh, I know, he's expensive though, and he's no longer there. I think he's so scared, like, in like UK.
He's so kind. You can ask him for a couple of tips on how to do that, because he did change that culture. Because it was, I lived in Toronto, the first fall, they were rude, terrible service. He came in and he did change the culture. So that's somebody you could connect.
Yeah.
He would share. Which the next time.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, it's changed in 30 years.
I
Like,
would,
we're at City Hall, I'm looking around, it's like,
and
departments don't talk to each other.
that's,
Talk to each
yeah,
other.
and it didn't help with the cyber security issue too, right? The cyber ended up,
Just know how much damage was done.
oh my goodness,
Terrible.
So, and that cybersecurity issue, so, and the planning department.
Mhm.
So to get things moving with housing and whatnot, I work in it, I can't actually phone the planning department. There's no phone number. So then I get the main board and send an email. Not hearing back, I think two things, okay, I'm moving off deals, yes.
send it to Jack, you know Jack.
Oh, yeah, send it to
Send it to person. Thank you. Okay,
So I'm like, those are things when
yeah, and that's,
it's free, we're all going, super talking, what is going on? We cannot get through to you guys.
yeah.
Right.
I've talked to Natasha many times, but yeah, so just message Jack about that, I will tell you that this is why I've been putting forward motions on asking the staff and the teams, and in particular, I have been working really hard on the planning and permitting department, because I hear that time and time again, that it's so slow, unresponsive, all that stuff. So what I've asked is for them to do an internal sort of reflection from a customer journey perspective. So how do you look at it from a customer perspective and because they tell us all the time that they're like, we're great, we have all of these, we have all of our timelines. I was like, no, if we're great, then people should not be calling me angry that their permits are slow or that they haven't heard back in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's a disconnect here, because clearly the customer, I always say customer, but yes, clearly the resident or the company, whoever that we're trying to serve, is not happy with our service. So you can't continue to tell me that we're hitting deadlines if the customer is not happy, so.
That's a two-phase thing, because a lot of times, people say, well, you can't get my permit, or can't do this, can't do that. Well, a lot of times what's holding up permits is they're waiting for information from the customer,
Yeah,
right? Variances for
That's
change
true.
plans.
Yep.
And all you hear is, well, customer calls you and says, well, I'm still waiting.
Yep.
Well, why are you waiting?
yep. And honestly, that's when we talk to our planning teams, and then they'll give us a line by line. But again, there's a disconnect, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm just mindful that we are way over time. I've kept you guys far longer than I was expecting. Oh, I have one more slide. We have a pool party coming up in July. And it's here.
It's here.
Because we have the outdoor pool that's here. So we like to enable people to come out and swim. If it's like a heat day, then it's free. But if you come to my pool party, I will pay for it. So come on out. We will also have other organizations around. They'll set up little tents outside. So we always have like a kids sort of area. But also you'll have a chance to connect with other community orgs. Thank you guys so much for coming. I know this is your first town hall. Thank you so much. So, but yes, thank you again so much. Hopefully we'll see you guys soon. Again, the next one is in July for.
Yeah, Hamilton is improving. I look around downtown, it's miles ahead. Whoever had the idea of playing music, Ferguson, is that you guys? At the Ferguson Rail Park.
No.
Chase away the encampments, that actually worked. Whose idea was that?
That's
That was
exactly.
inexpensive. Cream and joy, cream stirring, just drinking right in the middle of that little causeway. That was brilliant. That happens. Yes. Yeah, wanted to share that. It's really inexpensive. And one thing to was yes.
It's back to how it used to be, and it's a pleasure to go on.